Hi everybody, welcome back to the Purposeful Pantry. Today I have a fun treat for you in dehydrating pickles. And you may think, what the heck are you talking about? But these are tasty, salty, crunchy, kind of chippy snacks. But a twist on it today is going to be, I'm also going to be doing sweet pickles. And we're going to talk about how you can use the pickles afterwards as a snack and then even as a powder. So stay tuned. Here is what we're working on. So next step, we're going to rinse. All right, to get started on any of these, we need to rinse these first because if you look on the side of your pickle jars, you can see that there is a ton of sodium. 220 milligrams of sodium. That's 10% of your sodium input for a day, and that is with just 4 chips. 4 pickle chips is 10% of your sodium for the day. So what we want to do is, because as we dehydrate these pickles, they are going to condense the salt content onto a dried pickle. Some of it's going to go away with this rinse so that we can make these not quite so full of sodium for your snacking pleasure down the road. But we want to make sure we rinse off as much of the juice and the sodium on the outside of the pickles as we can. We can't take care of what's on the inside, but on the outside we can cut it down. So let's get busy. And as soon as I'm done loading one, I'll just go ahead and put the pickles on the tray, because then it can sit and drain across my other sink side. And I'm sure the OCD and those of you who have it are going, why is she not putting those like all spaced out pretty on your tray? I will probably fix it in a minute. I just want to get these out so they can start draining. When we've had these before, we really like them, but they are so super salty. And I hadn't rinsed them well enough. So today, better job of rinsing, making sure that you get as much of the pickle juice off of your pickles. Now you can certainly preserve that pickle juice. It's really great for doing things like marinating meats. I know that some people like to do a Chick-fil-A knockoff by soaking their chicken breast in pickle juice. However, I have no real need for it. I don't use it, we don't drink it, we don't do anything with it, so I'm going to go ahead and let it go down the drain. I'm okay with that. But if you use pickle juice, then definitely reserve that juice for something else down the road. When you're rinsing these, sorry if I yelled at you, you can start to feel the texture of the pickle once the juice is rinsed off, because it's not quite so slimy is a good word that I want to use. It's a good texture feel. The surface becomes less slimy so that you know that they are rinsed, and that can help you save a little water by not just continually rinsing them until you think they might be done. You can see that even these sweet pickles, these are hot and sweet, they have a bit less sodium, only 150 milligrams per 4 slices. The bread and butter pickles, which are a little sweeter, have 5 chips with I'm trying to see it because I can't read it, 120 milligrams. The zesty dill pickles have 220 for 2 slices, because these are longer ones, so that's like 4 cut slices. And these gherkins only have, surprisingly, 170 milligrams for 4 pickles, plus the carbs that come with this. This is why we're rinsing. And yes, if you ask, I am also going to go ahead and dehydrate these chilies. Let's get this one loaded. You will see that some of these little, I think they're mustard seeds that are in here, are still here, and I'm not going to worry so much about them. I could rinse them off singly, but they're not going to hurt the final product. And once they're dry, they will just flake right off of my finger. And when we dry these, know that thicker pickles are going to take a little bit longer than thinner ones. The sandwich thins are going to dry a little faster. Even though they're longer, they aren't quite so thick. These are a little thicker, and because they have sugar in them as well, they will take a little longer than the typical 4 to 6 hours to dry. But you can still put them all in at the same time and just keep an eye on them. And for those of you who live in areas where you may be low on water, you're trying to do a little better at preserving water, I'm doing this quickly because we're doing it for the video. You can actually soak these in a bowl and still get some of the similar effect of trying to rinse off the excess juice from the pickles. Okay, the thing I'm going to do a little differently with these sweet gherkins is I'm going to cut them in half with my new little paring knife that my kids got me for Christmas, or my husband did. I can't remember. I think it was my husband. I just heard the me in the background saying it was me. But you want to slice these because they're really thick, and because of the sugar content, and this one I'll probably do in thirds, they will be harder to dry fully. So this will help the drying process. Yeah, we've only ever done dill pickles, but I'm going to tell you I'm kind of excited about what these little gherkins are going to do. Gherkins are my favorite pickle. I used to love sweet pickle. I used to love dill as well, but these have been my favorite since I was a little kid. And I think I might have shared this story, but just in case, for those of you who are new, I used to love dill, everything. I loved sweet and sour, I loved pickles of all sorts. And then I got pregnant with my first son. When my son was born, we came home and had planned on having Thanksgiving dinner and provided for us, and it turned out that wasn't going to work out. So my husband, being the great guy he was, took off and found a restaurant that had food for the day. They were still serving Thanksgiving meals. So he came home. It was Bennigan's, and you probably have never heard of them. They're mostly closed now. But he came home with hot wings, and I don't even remember what else was in it. I just remember the hot wings. So I took a big bite of hot wings. I was excited. I loved hot wings. And they were the grossest thing I ever had at that very moment, because at some point, the way the hormone shift happens with your taste buds and how your body perceives things, I just thought they were gross. I'm going to keep these for me for a snack. And so I'm just now learning to like dill pickles again. But bread and butter and gherkins are my favorites because they're a little sweet, or a lot sweet. So I'm excited about these. So let's get these on the dehydrator and go. All right, now you guys have to help me remember what's what. The bottom, regular sandwich dills. No, bottom is dill. The next is hot and spicy. Spicy and sweet. That was it, spicy and sweet. The next one are the long sandwich dills. The next one is bread and butter. And the last are little gherkins. We are going to dehydrate these at 135 for probably 4 to 6 hours, but I have a feeling because of the sweetness in the bread and butter and the gherkins, they're going to take a little longer. So here we go. Okay, after a few hours, or I should say many hours later, we're going to start to show what's happened to our pickles. Okay, these are our dill pickles. They are well dried. They've been in here for about 12 hours total. That while I dried some other ones, I just went ahead and left these here because these will eventually make their way to powder. But this is what they look like. They're very thin, very brittle, perfectly done. Probably hear that? Crunchy, dill flavored, and still very salty. So if you have an issue with salt in your diet and you stay away from pickles because of that, even rinsed, these are just really salty. So I wouldn't use those. as a means of eating pickles when you couldn't before. It's even concentrated now. So they're super salty. Wow. Okay, here are our hot and sweet. They're called hot and sweet. These things are really hot. There's the chilies. That's what they were. I had the wrong name for them earlier, but those are the chilies that are dried. Completely dry now. My son's looking forward to having those. These are also, sorry about that, fully dried, yet they are not crunchy, but they are still a little gummy because the sugar content in these things don't allow them to just completely dry up and be crackly like the ones before, like the dill. They're still going to be good to eat. We're going to keep them in the refrigerator to be safe. And they can just lay it on the counter to get warmed up a little bit before eating. Before anybody eats them. But there you go for those. These are, the sandwich dills that are getting, because they curled up while they were drying. These also very brittle. Easy to do. But this is what they look like. These are I believe these are the regular dill chips. No. Try that again. Gherkins. So these would be the bread and butter. Surprisingly, these did dry up really crisp and ready to go. Here are the gherkins. And yes, there's a couple missing because we tried them out. These have turned into be like little gummies. They are the weirdest, kind of satisfying little treat that are salty and sweet and gummy. They're just kind of weird. You can see how they're still a little bendy. And I'm sure that if you wanted to dry these out even further to try to get a super crisp, you can keep going. I just don't think it's worth what you're going to get. Just look at these as being a gummy sweet treat out of your garden, out of a can. They're like pickle gummies. I guess that's what you would say. Like, they're gummies. I don't know a better way to put it. They're kind of fun. So there you go. So let's see what we do next. So here is our pickle yield. Let's look a little closer. And remember that your pickles will be a little different if you home can these. So we have the hamburger dill, the the bread and butter chips, the hot and sweet snackers, the zesty dill slims, and then these, the whole sweet petites, which are the little gherkins. And these have been cut at least in half, if not in thirds. There you can see that's the middle section. Something I wanted to look at, sugar content here versus the sugar content, where are they? The bread and butter chips. That may help you kind of figure out why those dried a little better or dried down into actual chips instead of gummies like this. So we have all these pickles. What are we going to do with them next? Our sweet ones right here are just going to be tucked aside as snacks. I'm not going to do anything with them. But wait till you see what I do with these. All right. Here's what's going to happen next. I'm kind of excited about this, and I know my son will be because he loves pickles. He'll love pickle powder on anything that we do it with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this is half a cup of dehydrated pickle slices. And let me do this real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. This is approximately 22 slices of hamburger dill pickle slices. I mean, that's what this approximation is. So what I'm going to do is put it in my bullet blender. I love this. I used to tell everybody how much I loved my coffee grinder for blending, but this has since taken over my world for doing any kind of blending. So I'm going to blend this really quickly. And this does not grind as finely as I thought it would. And remember, this is experimentation. See if we can get a little finer. I think I want my old coffee grinder back now for that small little bit. Yeah, that's what's the problem. There's not enough here to get a full powdering within the mixer. So I'm going to go ahead and add all the rest of mine, even though I didn't really want to. I wanted to kind of save it. I think what I'll do is the Slims to add to it, because, you know, you got to have some left over for the photos for the blog. I'll be right back. All right, that should give us a little bit more bulk to help this work out a little better. Here we go. Oh, come on, open up. All right, we've got a fairly, it's not completely fine, and if I work at it a little harder, it will be a little better. But there we go. There it is. And I've got a couple of larger pieces still in there that I can grind down a little more, but you still get the idea that this is a pretty decent powder. So all of that was approximately 1 full jar of the Slims, half a jar of the dill sandwich slices, and it gave me just under 1/4 cup of powder, and this will get a little less when I grind it down a little bit more. So that's what you have. But how can you use this? So how can you use this pickle powder? It seems a lot of work for such a little payback, but I'm telling you, this stuff is really salty. It doesn't smell so vinegary, but once you put it into something, the taste is big for the little bit that you need. So having this little amount really will go a long way. But how can you use it? So I got together with my friends that we did the 12 dehydrating projects for December, and I'll put that link up here. Lisa, Tangi, and Amanda and all kind of brainstormed about all the different ways that you could use pickle powder. Obviously, the number one is popcorn. It gives it a salty, kind of vinegary, fun treat. But remember, you have to use little. This stuff is really potent for salt. Then there are some other ways that maybe you can sprinkle it on top of your deviled egg to give it a little salty, vinegary taste on top, or even blend it in with your yolk mix. Instead of doing a sweet version, do a savory, salty version. Let's see, I'm trying to remember all the ways that we came up with. If you make potato chips in the dehydrator, so you slice up your potatoes really super thin, you blanch them really quickly, and you dehydrate them. Before you dehydrate them, sprinkle on the smallest bit of pickle powder. You're going to get what basically turns out to be a sort of salt and vinegar potato chip with a slight pickle taste. I'll have some more ideas down for you in the blog. I'll link it down below, and also included will be a printable for how to dehydrate pickles. So the sweet pickles, I'm not going to powder them, partly because they're so gummy that in doing that it will leave you with a really sticky gummy powder that won't store well. I know that when I do fruits, it's a little different because natural fruit sugars will work well, but this is so overwhelmingly sugary that I don't think it's going to powder well. So I'm going to choose to leave them as a snack for my son and I to go, pop one in and have a little pickle gummy for a little treat. So if you are a fan of doing pickle powder, if you've done pickles and you powder it and you use it a lot, please let us know in the comments below what you use it for. This was the first time I've ever tried pickles on a bigger scale than just throwing some on the first time. And the big lesson learned was definitely rinse them off, though rinsing doesn't take away all the salt. But I would love to know what you think. And are you a sweet pickle fan or are you a dill fan? Let me know down below. So right here, I'm going to give you another idea for dehydrating, and I thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later.